Welcome to the Voiceover Sermon with Terry Daniel, the podcast for voiceover artists with tons of handy tips, tricks, and useful information to help you run your voiceover business better. And now, here's your host, Terry Daniel.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and I almost said welcome to the Voiceover Cafe because I have Trish on the Voiceover Sermons podcast along with Rob Marley, and you know what? It's time for a little happy hour, you guys.
Yay! What are we drinking?
Trish, you and I haven't been on a podcast together for about 2 years.
It's probably been at least that by now, yeah, since our last cafe episode, I think May of something. I'm pretty sure it was longer than 2 years ago, to be honest. But
Rob, Trish and I met online back on the old Voiceover Universe website when that was pretty much social media, was it not?
It was before that.
Oh, yes,
you told me about Voiceover Universe.
Yes, that came in on like 2007 or something like that.
Yeah, 2008, May. I remember.
Perfect. She's got it burned into her memory.
Believe me, it's weird, but my mind, along with actual words, which is why I'm a good speller. I see words, but I also see, when it comes to dates, I see calendars in my head. It's the most bizarre thing ever. But
you're one of those types.
Yeah, but I'm not really that organized. It's so bizarre.
I met Rob on the Voiceover group on MySpace.
MySpace. But I mean, so Terry, if you really want, do you want me to go back that far? Do you want me to tell the story?
Yeah, why not?
It's very quick.
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay. So this is how I remember
like
it. I was living in Texas. You were living in Minneapolis, where you are, and the internet. It was 2000. Maybe I'm gonna say late 2006. I was living in Texas. I moved there in June of 2006. So that's how I know that. There was no Facebook. MySpace wasn't a place for business. So basically, I was typing. It wasn't even Google. I don't even know what the search engine was. But you just type in voiceover and hit enter and see what came up. And that's how that was what I did back then. Just trying to get work and find out. Again, I was still really new. I went full time in 2004. So I was still looking for learning how to find work and stuff and getting used to the online thing. And one day, from surfing all of the websites and stuff of the few agencies that actually had their rosters listed online at that time, I saw your name among several others that I saw a pattern. So I started to see the same names kind of over and over again, women, men. It was, it's just the voiceover people at that time. So, that's how I would send in my stuff and blah, blah, blah. So all of a sudden I get an email from you one day. And I knew who you were, but we had never talked. And you're like, hey, I saw that you had an online or a radio background. And we just kind of shot a couple of emails back and forth. And because you and I had a broadcast background, you suggested a podcast. I didn't even know what a podcast was at the time.
I didn't even know either until I saw the term online. I'm like, wait a minute. So we just hook our microphones in and we can talk about voiceovers.
Yeah. So, and that's exactly what we did and we started we met on Skype, to connected on Skype and started to do this show. And then we found out that the interview format worked out very well. And we got some really great people that were really kind of the pioneers of the industry
They were. And now half of those people don't talk to me anymore. And
that's true.
akvoices.com
I
owners.
still do.
Oh my God, did I say that out loud? Yeah, we're not the ones that. We can go into that in a different episode, but we didn't change our business models, Rob, like the good people at voices.com.
Well, their business model has always been about how much money can we fleece from everyone. That's their business model. Make money and laugh all the way to the bank.
Because they're not talent. I mean,
sure.
Stephanie started out that way, but they're not, I mean, once they start making money, I can't imagine she still does voiceover work. I would be
You know
very
what
surprised.
it is? It's like it's like voiceover in name only. Like she learned the ropes on how to be a voice artist just so that she kind of had an idea what other voice artists do. So then she can take as much money from them as she possibly can.
I don't actually know if that's true, only because
come
I
on,
know
sure it is.
I heard that. Well, but David is an SEO genius, whether or not you like the guy, and they met while she was doing voiceovers. That's how they met. From the story that I read from many years ago, they met when she was already in the business. But I don't know at what point she was in the business. I just know that that's how they met. So I don't think that they would have become what they are without him. To be honest, I don't think she had that kind of background.
They got very, very greedy. I booked a lot of stuff way back in the day.
I did
when
too.
Trish and I met, that was,
InteractiveVoices.com. It wasn't even voices.com yet.
Right, exactly.
Wow.
And I'm not the biggest, pay-to-play fan now either, but I'm certainly not a pay-to-play hater. But back in the day when there weren't, 900,000 people on the same pay-to-play site, you actually could book work here and there. So
You
life
can
has
book
changed.
work there, but it just takes a ridiculous amount of effort. I mean,
And money.
yeah,
It's $450 a year or something
I know.
crazy now.
$450 for the privilege of auditioning.
Right.
It's just crazy.
Well, Rob and I have had this conversation many times. If you actually, allocate most of those hours throughout your day in marketing directly to production directors and explainer video people, and even corporations that have in-house studios that produce tons of e-learning material for their employees who have to, it's a requirement for many corporations for their employees to sit online and take a certain number of hours of training every year. And God bless them for having to do that, because that gets more work for us. But I just found it over the last many, many years that I've gotten far more clients, way more work doing it that way than just sitting on a pay-to-play site from sunrise to sunset, auditioning along with 100,000 other people for a $250 job. It's not me. I know people do book from it, so I'm not saying that. Again, I'm not a pay-to-play hater, but, don't put all your eggs into that basket. Trish, are you even on any of them anymore?
No, no, I'm not. None of them, actually. And you won't find my name on voices.com, but you'll find my name on Voice123 and Bidalgo. I just have the free accounts, but I don't use them at all.
You sound very sad about all of this.
And well, you sound like one of my clients. So when they ask for my conversational, and that's what happens, I sound bored or mad. It's just where my voice goes.
we want you to sound bored or mad.
Well, no, they ask for conversational, but that's what I give them, except they're like, well, you sound angry. And I'm like, no, that's just my conversational. Sorry.
It's honestly, weird. I get my clients always tell me, you sound like somebody that has ADHD.
Well, you do.
They don't say that.
I do. Do you want to see my meds? No. It's a different world out there. And for those of you that are listening and are brand new to the voiceover industry, by the way, my name's Terry Daniel. I didn't even bother to introduce us. Maybe people who listen to this podcast obviously know that by now. But Rob and Trish are coaches on my staff, and we've never really had Trish on a podcast before. So in a few minutes here, Trish, you don't have to go into all the details of what you do in a marketing session with our students, but I just want you to kind of touch on it a little bit, because what I noticed in it is when I started to put together our team, and we do have the best team in the world. Wouldn't you guys agree with that? It's okay to be biased,
Absolutely.
Right?
Sure. Of course we do. And should we say why?
Is that pretty, do you think that's fairly egocentric?
No, I mean, there is no other team out there that is made up of all full-time voiceover talent.
Yeah.
There's literally no other coaching team out there that I know of. Do you guys know of any? Because we're all of us make our full-time living from voiceovers, and between all of us, we are able to not donate, but kind of make our time like part-time into coaching. We have enough time on our schedules to make a couple of coaching sessions a week happen. But we all could live without the coaching paychecks, without signing people up for programs. We don't need to coach to pay our bills. That's the way I see it.
I did find a voiceover coach on Fiverr that can tell me how to make $1 million off my voice memo app on my iPhone.
Oh my God.
I know, right?
But I mean, seriously, like all of us, we've been in the business for a long time and we're all full-time voiceover talent. We don't need to teach students to pay our bills. And that's how I see it. So,
I like teaching. I mean, that's the only reason why I do it. I like teaching. I like coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I like showing people the ropes and going through, all the pitfalls that I went through and telling them what to avoid and how to do things.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah, people want real life experiences. I got the teaching bug when I started directing plays, like way back in the latter part of the 90s, and then kind of did some stage coaching, and that's kind of how I got the bug.
Mm-hmm.
And then, on the side, I teach people how to be bartenders. No, I'm a voice actor also going to bartending school. No, but it certainly has been quite the ride. And when Trish and I first met, there was one big voiceover conference a year, and it was conducted by James Alberger and Penny Abshire. And you remember these, Trish. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I miss those days because you got a good, you got some newbies, some professionals. It was just a good mix of all kinds of different talents. And there was only one big seminar a year, and usually in LA where, it belongs. I thought in either LA or New York. And now there's a voiceover conference literally every 2 hours in all 50 states.
Well, COVID probably took care of that for a while. But, but it wasn't even yearly. It was every other year. But, FAFCON came about when, so I think the only 2 years in a row that they did voice was 2007 and 2008. 2007 was right before the online kind of.
Right. Well, then they did the one at Disney. That was like 2010 or 2012.
That was 2012, yeah, and we were presenters at that point.
Yep.
And we did it in 2010 too. 2008 was, for me, that was my first conference. That was in all, and again, that was, I think the reason that was so successful, because it went from like 100 people that were there in 2007, because the online community hadn't developed yet.
Right.
So
it was huge.
And so in May of 2008, the VoiceOver universe came on the scene, which was, again, before Facebook, before, it was just for VoiceOver people. You told me about it, and I signed up, and it was like they got like 2,000 signups in like a pretty small amount of time. And by September, it was like by June or July, Penny and James had announced the next voice conference that was going to be in either August or September in Beverly Hills. And that's where I think a lot of their signups came from. And all of a sudden there was 350 people at the conference. And that was amazing because all of us met each other in person. It was so cool to be able to have this online community, of everybody that you didn't know was out there before. You had no idea. Everybody was just kind of working from their own home studios and by themselves and in solitude and wondering what else is out there, and who else is doing this. And that kind of it was like a dream come true for me, is going out to LA and getting a chance to meet everybody in person, including you and Eric Shepard and Connie Terwilliger and Melissa Exelberth, and oh my gosh, so many people that have been in the business for so long. That's kind of where we all started and got to know each other and where the first circles formed.
It's pretty wild. And Rob and I actually met for the first time last October at WovoCon in Vegas. And that was really, I believe, Rob, that was the last big hurrah before the pandemic as far as live conferences.
Yeah, that was the last conference before the pandemic hit because VO Atlanta is usually April or May, right? And so lockdown started in March, so that shut all that down. So yeah, WovoCon was the last one. And it's funny because everybody talks about how WovoCon felt like the FAFCons of old.
Yeah.
How it was like a small group and you kind of knew everybody. I mean, that was my first WovoCon, so it was fun because I knew all the people there, at least online. I'd never met them in person. And it was like, oh, wow, okay, I know you. And of course, I met you, Terry. And, it's funny because, we had known each other for about 5 years before we met in person.
Yeah, that was cool. And that's the social part of it's always the fun part. But really the smaller, intimate conferences, I think you learn the most out of because it's not, Rob, you enjoy the VO Atlanta experience. As I get older, I just become a little more introverted. I get overwhelmed with crowds of like 900 to 1,200 people. I don't need the Comic-Con of voiceover.
It became that, yeah. And that's kind of what VO Atlanta was. VO Atlanta has become like the big show. And everybody who's anybody wants to go to VO Atlanta. And I'd gone 5 years in a row. I had gone every year for 5 years, and I had seen the numbers increase. And it got to the point where when everybody converges in one room for like the cocktail hour, the noise generated of all these people talking was deafening. And it was too much. It was sensory overload, and I ended up like kind of recoiling back into my room whenever I felt like it was too much. And that's kind of what stopped me from going. There was too many people. It was exactly like that. It was the Comic-Con of voiceover.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it's virtually the same presentations every year at a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you realize that it's a business. You realize that these people that are doing the conferences and offering the workshops and stuff, it's a business for them. And so there's no innovation to come up with anything new. It's like, I'll just do the same routine I did last year and with 12 new people in the breakout session and call it good and walk away with a couple $100 and be done.
It does feel, especially with, I haven't presented now. I did my fun little match game thing at the last WovoCon, which was just so much fun to do. But as far as presenters, they're all wonderful people. But it does feel like with a lot of these different conferences around the country that it can be kind of the same 10 to 12 names.
Yeah. I mean, you'll see the same names each year. And it's not that their information isn't good and worthwhile. It's just that once you've seen somebody's, a presentation or their marketing course or something like that, once you've gone through it, it's like, okay, I don't need to see it again.
Yeah, they're not updated enough. I mean, it's
and
again
with
for
VO Atlanta.
Yeah, go ahead.
With VO Atlanta, it's all about like they throw as much as they possibly can at you so that you can't do all of the stuff that you want to do. You have to pick and be very choosy about which classes you want because they always put them at the same times, and it was just too much of a headache.
Yeah. They're fun. Socially, I think Trish and I have talked about this many times. I've learned more from talking to talent agents, casting directors, my colleagues at the bar than I've ever learned in anybody's presentation.
It's funny. That's where most business still gets conducted, is at the bar after the sessions,
Mm-hmm.
But it's good.
Yeah,
time.
and I was just going to go to, for social reasons. I've never been to a VO Atlanta, but I was supposed to go last year before COVID, obviously. And that was the first year I was supposed to go, but I wasn't even going to pay to get into the conference. I knew somebody that had a free hotel room that I was going to bunk with her. And I was just going to go to see everybody and hang out at the bar or the restaurant or whatever inside the hotel and just catch up with everybody.
You're one of those talents that kind of crash the party, but don't pay to get in. Who's great at that too is our friend Doug Turkel.
Yes. Holding court is what we do.
Doug shows up in the lobby and holds court.
Well, because everybody knows him, and he's a cool guy, and he's friendly, and he makes you feel welcomed. I mean, I met him a few years back, and it was the same kind of attitude. Like, wow, he's a really nice guy.
Oh, he's fabulous. Doug is a fantastic human being.
I love Doug. He's an awesome
he's
dude.
A brilliant marketing mind as well. So this happens like twice a year, you guys, and I got one this morning again. Somebody brand new trying to get into the business, which is great. But they asked if I would be able to share my client list with them.
It's unbelievable.
I know. This happens.
I don't understand how somebody could not think that that's not cool.
So here's the deal. If you're listening to this podcast and you're brand new to VoiceOver, hopefully you've picked up a lot of really good nuggets by listening to most of the episodes. I think we've got well over 200 altogether. Most of them are pretty short. but bringing you guys in now, it's making it just so much more fun. But if you're brand new, you have to spend a ton of time on research. First of all, find out if this is something you want to do. And then at that point, it would be time to look into, some fabulous coaches. I've got a few in mind. So you don't want to start emailing people that you find online or in social media and asking for them to share their client list that they work so hard in building up that particular client pool for 30 years, and now I'm just going to hand you over my client list. I mean, come on now. Let's.
I mean, I'm happy to share information. If somebody, emails me out of the blue and says, "Hey, how do I do this?" or "What's the best way to do this?" I'm more than happy to share that information. But if somebody asked me for my client list, I'd be like, "Really?" I mean, ethically, that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be catty about it. It's just like you do get a little sensitive and kind of defensive because all of us on this episode here today have spent decades building up our client list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my client list is the cold list that I have is huge, and the client list thankfully is growing. But I work hard, to find those clients and research the clients and establish a connection and establish a relationship with the client. Yeah, you can't just okay, here's my client list, and now you can't just email them and say, "Hey, I'm a voice artist, hire me." That you're not going to get anywhere.
Exactly.
It takes effort, and that's what the client list is all about. That's the culmination of my effort. If they're clients, I've earned their trust. You can't just be a stranger and contact them and expect to work. It doesn't work that way.
What I think is a really good idea is to hack into somebody's client list, like I just did with
cool.
Trish. Your client list is up on my monitor right now.
Fantastic!
I hacked into your computer.
Have at it.
I can see everything on your computer right now.
I don't even have a client list. That's what's so funny. I don't have them all in one place. You'd really have to do a lot of digging.
Right. It's like email, Facebook Messenger, constant contact, or
for me, it's all a Christmas list. My Christmas card list is my client list. That's those. These are the clients that I work with that year. So whenever I finish a job, I put them on my Christmas card list. So at the end of the year, it's like, wow, here's all my clients. And it's a nice way to stay in touch with them. They love getting a real physical card in the mail, and it's one more way to stay top of mind with them. It's like, hey, we worked this year. Thank you so much. Here's a little hint to give me some more work.
Wow, you're a lot more put together than I am, Rob. I would not have the patience to do that. Wow, I don't even send. Of course, I don't even send Christmas cards out to anybody.
You know what I just started. You know what I just started doing at the beginning of the year that I find is very effective. Instead of sending a client a thank you card, I now send all my clients a singing telegram.
Oh, that's got to be effective.
Yeah.
Hey, they're not going to forget it, right? They're not going to forget you. Oh, my God. Yeah, please put that in your marketing session, Trish.
Singing telegram.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, when people get into voiceovers and, a lot of coaching companies, including ourselves, we spend quite a bit of time on script technique and performance, which I think is so incredibly important, especially before we even bring up the word demo. We usually will recommend a flurry of coaching sessions. But what I still believe in the industry right now, there's just not enough time spent on marketing. Even in voiceover books, and many of them, some of them are still very, very good, and some of them are a little outdated. But the ones that I've kind of picked up and kind of perused through them, they're still, they're very agency heavy. There's just not enough time spent on marketing, which is why, Trish, you're kind of our marketing genius of our team.
Our guru.
So if anybody...
Oh, I hate that word.
I know. She just
but thank you.
Cracked the whip on me earlier about that. Guru.
Isn't there a negative connotation on guru now? Does anybody else agree with me with that? I hate that word. It usually means something bad.
I don't think it means anything bad. It just means that
anything bad, but it's meant. It's turned into that. It's like the quote unquote gurus. There is
something a little pompous about it.
Yeah,
Okay,
like people
I can
trying
see
to.
that.
But you are kind of our go-to marketing expert. So why don't you, if you don't mind, like when we take our students through a series of coaching sessions, just kind of touch on just a few of the things that you'll go over with a student when it's time to meet with Trish for their marketing session.
Sure. And just as an aside, for people that know, I mean, you guys know how to market yourselves. You wouldn't have voiceover careers if you didn't. The difference between you guys and me is that I like to do it.
Right.
And I
don't
like
mind
to
it.
teach it. So, okay. Well, I just like, I enjoy teaching it too, because I get really excited about it. So basically what I really stress, with it, my biggest thing, and I said this at, I think it was at FAFCon several years back, and I said it, and to me, it's not anything amazing, but there seemed to be like an audible gasp or some sort of like audible reaction when I said this out loud when I was speaking at FAFCon several years back, or it was FAF Camp, I think. And I said, look for clients, don't look for gigs. It's, I've always gone after the middlemen, the people that receive the jobs, that do the jobs, okay? You're not going to go, unless you have a specific in at a corporation or something like that, you have one shot at getting, maybe a one-off gig. Go for the people that have the gigs coming to them all the time. They're the middlemen, the ad agencies and production companies. We all know, everybody that has any kind of self-marketing experience knows where to find them, ad agencies and production companies. The specifics get a little, back and forth, and you have to do a lot of sleuthing. It's not easy, it's something that you kind of learn to look for after a while. And, but the four things that I always tell people that they really need in order to start getting work and actually use the methods that I teach is, the first one is a website. Obviously a place where you can put your demo. Your demo needs to be finished and professionally produced. It's got to be competitive and sound like it's been spent some time on. So have your demo on a website. And in my opinion, Wix and Squarespace or whatever, and anything that's free isn't going to make you look very good. So spend $10 on a URL from GoDaddy and get it hosted for whatever it is, $50 a year or something.
You can use those sites. You can use Wix and Squarespace, just don't use the free versions.
Right, exactly. Yeah, okay. Exactly.
Yeah, because we have Sean Brackett, who does a lot of our websites. I mean, we don't promise the world to our students with a website. I mean, we're not going to give them a $5,000 WordPress site, but it's a start. It's a one-page, user-friendly site where clients can find your demos in 3 seconds instead of having to spend 5 minutes trying to. There's still websites out there where, God, it takes me 10 minutes to find the person's demo, and that's just wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, even one page is fine, but to me, the URL is important. Like if you just pay that little extra to have it, masked that you're using a free, build your own website builder or whatever.
It just makes you look that much more professional.
Well, you don't
like
want
a custom domain name.
You don't want the word Wix in your URL.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Get the custom URL if that's the least that you spend. But I also recommend that you don't want your email address to be voiceguy125@gmail.com. It just doesn't look good. And what makes you stand out above the rest is when you get your email address to match your website. If your website's terrysvoice.com, then your email should be terry@terrysvoice.com. It's just the way, it's so much more professional. So website, demo, email address matching, and then your email signature. That I really spend a lot of time talking about in a marketing session. And it might sound small, but it makes a huge difference in how you connect with people and how you start to build your circles and how you connect with people online. Because social media, whether it's just LinkedIn or if you choose to use other social media sites to get work, it makes a huge difference when you properly do your email signature.
Well, it's an
use
online. It's a business card. It's like an online business card, and every time you're communicating back and forth with a potential VO buyer, I mean, it's like billboard advertising. They're seeing that at the bottom of your email.
Trish, do you use a program to create the signature section?
No, I'm still struggling honestly with the format of it. Like for me, I like changing mine every so often also. So I didn't really like the idea of having it. I mean, I used and I talk about this in my marketing session. I use a website called Icon Monster. And I don't know how that site makes money, but everything that I was able to do on it was totally free. I didn't even have to give them my email address. So if you go on iconmonster.com, you can download, or it's not full Monster, it's a Monster without the E in it.
TR, yeah.
Yeah. But if you go there and you type in whatever, LinkedIn, Snapchat, whatever, you like, say you have a Snapchat account and you want to offer the link for people to start following you on Snapchat. So you go on Icon Monster and you type in Snapchat in the search engine, and all of the styles of the icons that match for Snapchat show up. You're able to customize the color and the size. So, of course, I was able to put mine in my iconic purple and make my own, and choose a style. And I stuck with the style for all of my social media channels. And that's what shows up at the bottom of my email signature.
I am looking at your email signature as we speak.
And stuff,
it's,
right?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I'm looking at it right now. Now
it's a little large for me. I'm still working on it, but that's, as for somebody that wants to connect with me, they're like, oh, she's here and here and here, and just have to click on it. And all of a sudden, sometimes when I email someone, when I'm marketing myself, I'll email, someone about sending them my demos. And instead of a reply to the email, I'll get a LinkedIn request from that person. And that's more valuable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's cool. I'm going to check that out because I've been looking to revise my my little signature line, right? I mean, I did have like the logo and the link to my website and all that stuff. And now I look at it and it's like, wow, it looks a little spammy. So I got rid of all of that stuff. And so now it's just name and my website address and a phone number. But I want to have the icons for Facebook and for Instagram and Twitter and things like that, the social media things. So
sometimes,
and then you just hyperlink everything.
Sometimes, however, it can be a little like I've seen people they'll put like their enormous like headshot in their signature, but sometimes you have to deal with, if you're going to send out emails, sometimes they will go directly to a spam folder because you've got too many links in your signature.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something to consider. But I think the like, just a few of the social media stuff, icons and links to those social media pages, I think that's appropriate. And it looks professional.
Yeah, Trish's signature is brilliant.
I'm going to steal it.
Yeah, we're going to just
I'm
steal
not
it.
going to start calling myself Trish, but
I'm not stealing it if you're telling me, Rob.
I'm stealing the purple lips.
Just bad stealing.
Trish, I'm going to steal your entire brand.
Hey, you hated that logo when I first came out with it. I remember. I will never forget that, by the way.
I hated it. What do you mean I hated it?
You did, and I'm sure I'd be able to find it if Voiceover Universe still is online.
Oh my God!
Somewhere.
So you're going to spend the last 10 minutes of this podcast crawling on Voiceover Universe to find the message where I was critical of your logo.
It was in 2008, and I posted it.
Oh my God! You remember the year?
Yes, it had to have been 2008 because I told you I see everything in calendars.
Oh my God! Whatever. Be careful what you say to Trish online.
I posted it on Voiceover Universe, and you said something snarky about, what is this, a late night sushi restaurant? It's not a voiceover logo.
God,
it doesn't have a microphone and or headphones in it. Basically, is what you were saying.
God.
For it to be a voiceover logo, it has to have a microphone in it.
I must. That must have been during my hardcore party days where I was just maybe a bit more of a jackass.
I forgave you. It's
I can't
okay.
believe you remember the date. Oh,
Well,
my
again,
God.
it was on
Tuesday,
Voiceover
and it was
Universe.
partly cloudy, and
Well, it had to have been because I got my logo done by Nikki Sacco in 2008. I've had that logo for 15 years now.
I was probably insecure at the time and jealous of the logo. Does that make you feel better?
It didn't bother me at all. I just remembered it.
Boy, I remember.
I wouldn't be a voice talent if things like that bothered me, Terry.
I remember on October 9th in 1989, we had a full
know,
eclipse and you ripped on my demo.
Oh no, there was a few discussions that I had, not with you, but with a few people that I do remember from back then. And again, it's probably out in the ether somewhere. I'm sure it's findable. It's voiceoveruniverse.com. Is that still is it still
Oh my
available?
God, that's a graveyard. I think you can still log in. I think
Yeah.
if you remember, we used to post our first podcast, Voiceovers on Demand, on there. Rick Party
Yeah.
was really very supportive. And
Yeah.
it's, I think it's still there, but it's
Yeah,
just
it's still there.
just a ghost town.
Yeah.
But that was,
Yeah.
for everybody that is listening to this podcast, that pretty much was the social media forum for voice actors back then. Now
There was
we know
a group chat that I loved.
Oh,
That's
God,
how
it
I
was
got
fun.
to know a few people. Yeah, there was like this group chat on the homepage, and I used to just go there all the time.
Well,
and-
that's how I got to know the late, great Brad Venable.
That's how I know Jordan Reynolds.
Yep. And there was a good, we're still friends with all the original Voiceover Universe people that we met. Mike Elmore, who coaches with us every now and then.
Yeah,
he was on
Bob
there.
and Beam, and there's a lot. Yeah,
looking at the page, the Voiceover on Demand podcast still has a picture of you, Trish, strangling Terry.
yep.
Oh my God, is that still on there? We
Not
gotta
much
go
has
find
changed,
that.
I guess.
We got to find that for sure. We got about 5 minutes here because I know that Trish has a hard out. But is there anything else you wanted to add as part of what you cover in a coaching session when it's all about marketing?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, have those things in line, the things that I mentioned, the website, the demo, email, and of course your home studio. Make sure all of those things are completely finished and ready to go when you start marketing yourself. And again, ad agencies, production companies, everybody finds their own path. Well, you know, if you were to review all the pros client lists, they would all be different because we all worked for, and we all kind of made our own way through the business and connected with different clients for different reasons. So yeah, I mean, I teach the very specifics. I teach men to fish. You know, that's really like, to use that old parable, I would teach you exactly how to find work. And I can tell you that the basics are, look at ad agencies, look at production companies, look at those middlemen that have the work coming into them, because if you don't know what an ad agency or production company does, generally they have clients coming to them to get the job done. You know, a pizzeria locally, you know, comes to an ad agency and they say, hey, we want more clients, so we want more customers, so can you do a commercial campaign for us? And the ad agency, of course, says yes. And they write the copy, they do the commercials, they hire the voiceover talent to voice those commercials. They're the ones receiving the work and the projects. And those are the connections that you need to make.
Marketing agencies too. Marketing agencies are another good one to hit up. You know, that you know, the creative directors at marketing agencies are the ones that, the same thing as ad agencies. They're putting together the campaigns.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that are going to be hiring the voice talent.
I really, you know, I like to go door to door in my neighborhood.
That's
You know, just
Again,
to see,
very
just to see what the expression is on the person that answers the door.
Big billboards with my face on it.
Wait a minute, what are you
holding
what are you
your
trying to-
CD demo.
Yeah, my
or
CD.
worse, holding your cassette in your hand.
Oh, I've got it. I've got my original cassette demo. It was commercial on side A, industrial narration side B.
I never had a cassette, but I got into the business right around the time things were switching over to CD. So I have a few left somewhere. But
I'm such an 80s freak. I started buying vintage boom boxes.
Wow.
I started with turntables, Rob.
I don't
Was
have to buy it. I still have
you
my one
still-
from
you
that I
have
have
your-
from fourth grade.
Oh my God,
I
that's
always
awesome.
wanted
Was it the
the-
Panasonic one?
Yeah, the big monster
It
one.
might be.
Like the boom boxes that you see, like the break dancers in like the 80s in New York. Those big monster boom boxes.
God, I used to love those
Ghetto blasters. That's what
I love the
awesome.
remember the movie Breakin'?
Oh yeah,
And then there was Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo.
Oh my God, I was so into those. Beat Street. Huge fan. I could never do it, but oh my God, I could watch it for like hours and hours and hours. Yeah, because I know, Rob, you're a big vinyl fan, and I've got my turntables and a huge vinyl collection now. But now I've started in with my vintage boombox collection.
Oh man, that's cool. That's a cool thing.
It's pretty much over for me. It's just over.
Do they work? Do they have to work, or are you
no?
just
They do.
putting
Well,
them on
one is
display?
kind of a fake one because it's Bluetooth, and I know that I'm going to get a lot of flack for that because
cheating.
that doesn't really count.
Yeah, it's totally cheating.
Yeah, you need the real. That's like you can't really buy the mastered version of Pink Floyd The Wall. You have to get the old album, the original album that came out. None of this like mastered version where you can get it at Target. That doesn't count.
Mine still works.
The new digitally remastered stuff.
Yeah, no, that doesn't. That's blasphemy.
Yeah, I tried it. I actually have a whole box of cassettes that I still can't let go for whatever reason.
No, don't do it. Don't get rid of them.
And I play them once in a while in my boombox. Now, the sound is awful. The sound quality is just terrible. It's as were cassettes all around back then. But I still kind of feels neat to be able to play that, and it's still this is the same boombox that I recorded, Casey Kasem's Top 40 whenever a song that I wanted on,
Totally.
I take the blank CDs and hit record and play.
Oh
and,
my God,
you just wait for them to announce it, and you had to time it just right so that he was done talking, and if he hit the post too tightly that it would like you step on the vocals and your recording would be messed up.
Or they would always like come in on the outro of the song, and it's like, damn it, I'm recording
I was
that.
so
I don't
mad.
hear your voice.
I don't miss that about radio at all. They would just talk right up to when the vocalist starts singing, and it's like it's a lot of these songs
hitting the post.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of these songs of the 80s, the instrumental intros were just beautiful. And they're talking all over it, and but...
Well, as a former DJ, I have to say that it was kind of like just a nerdy thing that I liked to do just because I could. It's just like, basically, that was your badge of honor if you could nail a post. Like, that was like a pride thing.
You had skills.
You didn't realize how many people you were pissing off at the
This is
same
nerdy
time.
radio talk. Now, do you still have the dead air dreams?
I
Dead
never
Air Nightmare?
had them. I never, ever had them.
I've been off the air. I've been off the air for 20 years, and I still have them like every other week. Like there's dead air, and like suddenly I can't do anything about that. I'm like I'm frozen, and I just sit there in front of the microphone in total panic mode, and all the phone lines are ringing. It's really I wake up sweating. It's really horrifying.
Yeah, I never had them. I don't know what it was, but I just never had those kind of dreams. I have other types of nightmares, but never those.
Yeah, I've had some weird dreams since my first vaccine, which has gone well enough. I feel like I'm on like allergy pills with like antihistamine these last couple of days, but for the most part, it's pretty good. I get a little fatigued in the afternoon, but
I've been noticing that
good.
too. Just a little bit of a fog, kind of a blah. I want to just go take a nap.
Yeah, but it's
I
all
got
good.
the second shot. I'm done. I'm
Oh,
happy.
awesome. Trish, I know you have to go because you have a coaching session actually coming up.
I do.
But I want to recommend, if anybody's listening to this podcast, we really appreciate you taking the time to listen. And we do have a voiceover group on Facebook. For beginners, it's called Voiceover Camp. You just go on Facebook, type Voiceover Camp in the search box, fill out the little request to get in, and I will get you in there. Rob is in there. Trish is in there. I'm in there. My entire coaching staff is in there, and there's a lot of good discussions, a lot of good VO tips. Voiceover Camp on Facebook. Find us there. So we'll get out of here. Trish, thank you for coming back to the podcast. Rob, thank you for your time.
Oh, always a pleasure.
And Good luck, everybody out there, and we'll talk to you very soon. My name's Terry Daniel. This is Voiceover Sermons. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Or you could just go to voiceoversermons.com and listen on the Spreaker player. Man, there's just too many places to listen to a podcast. Can't there be one place? All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Terry. Take care, guys.
Take care. Have a great week, you guys.
Thank you for tuning in to the Voiceover Sermon with Terry Daniel. See you next time for more useful tips and tricks to help make your voiceover business run better.